You know, woodworkers are really of two minds when it comes to the miter saw as a workshop tool. First, you have the folk who think of it as merely a way to break down long boards into more manageable lengths that you're further going to process over at the table saw. Now, there's another school that says that your miter saw is really a precision cutting tool, that you can use it to make really accurate miters and crosscuts and be able to fit pieces exactly right from this saw. The problem is the breakdown rough cutting folk treat their miter saw like a fine cutting tool from time to time, and you really can't mix those two options. And here's one good reason why. Now, like, this miter saw is designed to make really accurate cuts. However, the insert that goes around the blade actually has a pretty significant gap here between the blade and the insert. So what often happens is when you make a small fine cut that goes down there, you can also get some tear out as that blade exits through the workpiece and down, creating a ragged bottom edge. So I recently made, for another video project, a zero clearance insert for the table saw. It's made out of UHMW plastic and has a replaceable hardboard insert that just slides right in. Once this one gets chewed up, I can pull this out, slide a fresh one in, and I'm good to go. That same concept is going to work right here at the miter saw. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, now the first step in the process is to create a blank that'll be our new insert for the saw. So I have some 1/2 inch UHMW plastic here. Now the UHMW, just side note here, and for trivia, is ultra high molecular weight. What's that mean? I don't know, but what it really is a really smooth plastic. It cuts kind of like ivory soap at the table saw, so it's pretty easy to work with. You find a lot of cutting boards for kitchens made out of this stuff, as well as jig parts. Next, we want to remove the fences on the back of the saw. If you're super strong like I am, you just pull them off like this. Other people will have to remove the screws from the back side, and then you can lift those off. The other thing you want to do is remove the screws that are holding the existing insert in place. So I have just this last one here to do. And then we're going to use these two existing ones as a template for shaping the other one here. So I'm using some strips of double-sided tape here, and then I'm going to line it up with the front edge, keep those side edges aligned, and then I can press it down. There, just what we wanted, be able to lift these pieces out. And what that's going to do now is give us a guide here for shaping the end of this. There's just a subtle curve here to make it fit the opening. Now, some miter saws are going to have a little bit different arrangement for what their shape of the layout or what their shape of the insert is going to be. So this is the process that I'm going to use. You can see there's not a lot of material here that I'm going to need to remove, so the shaping is going to be pretty easy. When you're working with this kind of stuff, it's tough to mark on it, but I found these really fine point Sharpies do a good job of creating a nice, easy line to follow and mark on this plastic. So we'll do that. Later on, we're going to cut it to shape at the bandsaw, and we can sand it smooth with an edge sander. What we want to do now is plow a channel right down the middle of this for that replaceable insert, and we'll take care of that over at the router table. The replaceable hardboard strips that are going to go inside of our insert plate are held in place by the fact that we have a dovetail shaped groove plowed right down the middle of the insert plate. We'll trim those strips to match that a little bit later. Now, to do that, we've installed a dovetail bit here in the router table. The key thing is that the height of the bit needs to match exactly the thickness of the hardboard. That way, once everything's in place, it'll be nice and smooth. You're not going to have a workpiece catch on it when it's installed in the saw. Now, when you're routing UHMW, it's going to sound a little bit weird, quite unlike some other materials, but it'll go just fine. The whole point of our insert plate is that you have these replaceable hardboard inserts. So as one gets chewed up, slide out the old one, slide in a fresh one. So I want to make a few of them all at once. I've cut them slightly over wide at the table saw, and I'm going to use the dovetail bit to give them beveled edges. The technique I'm using is something I call ripping at the router table, in that I'm going to pass the workpiece between the fence and the bit to bevel the edge and also make sure I have nice parallel edges. I'm going to be moving the workpiece left to right, which is opposite the normal order of things. However, if you'll notice, since the bit is spinning counterclockwise here, I'm feeding the workpiece past it against the rotation of the bit. So everything's going to work okay, other than it feeling a little bit weird at first. So I'm going to make a pass, flip it around end for end, make a second pass. That's going to give us our two beveled sides. It may not fit in the groove in the insert plate, but in order to get that just right, all I need to do is move the fence just slightly towards the bit, make another pass, and test fit as I go until I get a nice, easy fit of that strip into the groove. We're back here at the miter saw to take care of a few details that allow you to fit your insert to your particular saw. Now, at the drill press, I drilled some counterbore holes for the screws that attach the insert to the saw. Used a Forstner bit to take care of the counterbore, and then a brad point bit for the through hole. Then over at the table saw, I set up a dado blade and an auxiliary fence and ran a rabbet around all four edges. Now that's going to allow the insert plate here to sit flush with the saw table. So let's get this installed, put the fences back on, and see how it works. All right, that's what we're looking for. A nice crisp cut and no tear out on that bottom edge. And you'll see the kerf left by the blade means that the next cuts are going to be just as crisp. Now, if you want to see a version of this for your table saw, you could check out the video on our YouTube channel for the Woodsmith shop. Otherwise, if you want to build one of these inserts for your own miter saw or your table saw, the plans are available at woodsmithplans.com. Check it out.